Hi, everyone, and welcome to OneMicNite, the podcast that brings you stories of artists on their journey in entertainment, helping to guide, answer questions, and motivate you in the business and in life. My name is Marcos Luis. This episode, I'm very, very excited, as I always am, but this one more than ever, because usually on OneMicNite, we're talking about music. This is my chance now to talk with another filmmaker. Most of you guys know me from music and hosting the OneMicNite live series, but I'm actually a filmmaker and actor. So I'm very excited to have our guest. He's an award-winning filmmaker. He's an actor, he's a producer, and he's a social media influencer in the genre of film. Please welcome Skip Bolden to OneMicNite podcast. Hello.
Hello, Marcos.
How are
Thank
you?
Thank you so much for that great introduction.
Yeah. I'm so happy to have you here. You have no idea. Usually I'm talking about music on the podcast or social issues, but now I have a chance to talk to another fellow filmmaker, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too.
Listen, I have questions. Who is Skip Bolden? That's number one. Yeah.
Oh, geez, I think I've been trying to figure that out for years.
Mm-hmm. As we all are. All right.
It took me a while to find out who I was. When I started out years ago, my first love was dance. I wanted to be a dancer. Because I loved the stage and musical theater. And then I pursued dance. I even got a scholarship at a dance school. And after a couple of years of doing that, I realized this is really hard on my body. And as much as I love dance, I can't do this. At the same time, I was attending the Leonard Davis Center for the Performing Arts up at CCNY. I was a theater major there. And then all of it stopped because I moved to California, didn't do anything in the arts for a long time. And then I got, and I mean a long time. Then I got laid off from a job, decided to go back into the arts again. Went back starting as a filmmaker, as a video journalist, then to a filmmaker, and then sort of branched off from there. So it's kind of a roundabout way to answer that question, but it wasn't, sometimes that journey, bends and winds.
Absolutely. I think that, once you're an artist, you're always an artist. So whether you have the flame in the beginning, all the way to the end, the flame is still there. You're absolutely right.
Oh, yeah. I agree. And, I finally got around to pursuing it again.
So you grew up in New York?
Yes, I did.
What was that like? New York is beautiful. Everybody wants to live in New York. I'm not from New York, so moving here to New York that's a dream come true for everyone. What was it like growing up here in the arts? Yeah.
Really? Well, I grew up in the Bronx, and I left New York, actually. I moved to Los Angeles when I was in my early 20s. And I lived there for a long time. I lived there for 41 years. And the interesting thing is, I just moved back to New York.
Wow.
This last September, after all of that time.
Wow.
So I am rediscovering New York. So much has changed, of course, over that period of time.
Right.
And I remember in going around the city, different places, how much I love New York. I never forgot that, but just being here and knowing that I'm going to live here again, it's like I'm falling in love with the city again.
Right.
So,
even though during this time we can't enjoy it the way we like to, but.
Well, yeah, I don't let that spoil my enjoyment. It's the energy.
Right.
Of the city. The one thing that I had asked somebody is, it's really funny because I said, was New York always this noisy? An incredible amount of noise.
Yeah, it really is. It is.
So I've got to get used to that again. So.
Yeah. What was it like in California? Like all the experiences, the culmination of California with New York versus New York, rather.
Well,
for you.
Well, for me, basically there really is no comparison. New York is New York and Los Angeles is Los Angeles. And in my opinion, never the twain shall meet. because it's just totally different. Now, obviously, the one thing that I did fall in love with was the weather, you know, until it rains. Because, as you know, we have some torrential rains out there, and the fires and the earthquakes. But other than that,
those little things.
Yeah, those little things, you know. I got to say, though, probably the most frightening event of my life living in California was being in the Northridge earthquake back in, what was that, 91, I think that was. That was quite an experience.
I can't even imagine. I never experienced an earthquake. What's going through your mind? What's happening?
It's just it's almost surreal, because you realize that the Earth is much more powerful than you are, and it kind of helps you put things into perspective as far as life is concerned. But yeah, it was just really, really frightening, and just, you know, eye-opening as to how powerful Mother Nature is when you experience it one-on-one, you know.
Yeah.
But other than that, fortunately, you know, they didn't happen a lot of time. But, you know, it does shake things up. But I loved living in LA. I absolutely love LA. It took me a while to get used to it, of course, when I first moved there. But I love it, and I miss it. Anyway, but I'm here now, and that's what I'm focused on.
Right, good. Did you do any work when you were out there, film-wise or acting?
As far as acting or anything?
Yeah, any kind of, theater or arts work?
That wasn't until probably within the last 7 years or so, because as I was saying, when I got back into the arts, I started back into it as a video journalist, and I was covering red carpet events. My favorite one that I covered was, you know, the Turner Classic movie channel?
Oh yeah, watch it every day.
Yeah, they have an annual film festival there in Los Angeles, and I got the opportunity to do 3 or 4 of being on the red carpet, and that was a lot of fun. And then when I started doing that, I just started networking and meeting other people. I had made my own film. It's a short film that I shot on location in India several years ago, and it's called Going Home Again.
Okay.
And that's when I started getting back into the filmmaking. I wanted to get into it in a short form. So,
what was the film about, if you don't mind, just briefly?
It was a personal story. It was about one of my best buddies, Raja Dekka, who is an actor as well, and it was his trip going back to India to a family event that his uncles were putting on in the village that they grew up in remembrance of Raja's dad, because he had passed on several years ago. And that was it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, to be there. And
I'm having a memory. I think I saw this film.
Did you?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Really?
Absolutely did. It was great. It was fantastic.
Really? Yeah, I mean, it's just a simple personal story.
Right.
And while I was there in the village and I was shooting, I had this, and I wasn't expecting it, there was this sense of euphoria that came over me while I was shooting, and I realized this is what I want to do.
Wow. That's great. I think it's interesting too, because it took me a while to get to that point as well. I mean, growing up, I was an actor, I was on stage, but I started college pre-med. And then after my first year, I went back into theater, and then recently just started making films and producing films and, you know, taking story, creating content. So I know what you mean. I mean, it took me a while to figure out that's what I wanted to do as well.
Yeah, because, you know, it's, I think that it's part of the creative process of also discovering who you are, and then once you start, you see where it leads to, because one thing leads to another. Because like I said, also I had gone into producing as well, produced a web series and some other things as well. So yeah, it does take you.
It takes you, yeah,
places. So there's always this continuous self-discovery.
Right. And I feel like it's, you don't know, like, you create the best content when you are exploring yourself, when you're putting your personal stories out there. You know what I mean? So I think that, yeah, for me, I've gotten to a point where you reach a certain age, you feel free, you feel secure, you feel a lot of things, and you want to put it out there. And I'm right there with you on that one.
Oh yeah. I think there is a certain amount of maturity that comes with that, because when I decided to go back into the arts, that was after being laid off from a job that I had for several years. It was a good job, but then I looked at that as an opportunity for me to do something else, with a realization that I'm getting older. I just can't wait. I'm not going to let my life pass me by.
Right. Yeah.
And so I took that chance, and it was very, very scary.
Yeah.
And at parts during that journey, it was really rough. I had some rough times in my life.
Right.
But I just kept going, and I kept going, and I just kept going the best I could. And you can see, or I can see that in doing that, I realized why some people let it go. Because sometimes, and it doesn't happen to all of us, but at one time or another, I mean, even in a successful person's career, they're going to face some hardships. It's not always smooth sailing.
Absolutely, ups and downs, always.
Oh man, yeah. Sometimes it feels like
a lot of downs.
So you got to get used to that. You got to ride with it and ride it out. And I think what happens as you go through those things, it makes you stronger, it makes you more determined, but it also makes you wiser.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And it also, speaking of the security part of it, creating your own stories or putting your own content out there, it's kind of like, you reach a desperation point sometimes, but it's also the passion that drives you to continue, to finish, to seek, to, it's the motivation factor for you.
Oh yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And sometimes you can turn that desperation, as you said, you can take that energy, either you can look at it as desperation, or you can look at it, as hunger, and that just pushes you even more.
Absolutely.
For me, when I was experiencing those things and trying to get through it, it just made me more determined. As I said, I am not going to be beaten.
Right.
By this.
It's hunger when you're hungry too.
Right.
You know what I mean? It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
But that's the nature of the beast. So.
Mm-hmm. So now you have a Twitter page and you have a lot of followers. How did that happen?
Listen. And the thing is that I think I have over maybe about 30,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That did not happen overnight.
Wow.
That took a good, I think I've been on Twitter like almost 10 years now. So that was building up and being consistent, which is the secret to anything.
There you go. Pow!
You gotta be consistent. You gotta keep at it. But the funny thing is that Twitter was the last social media platform that I came to because I understood that one the least. Mm-hmm. When I first went on there years ago, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I said, how does anybody know, anything? But, I said, okay, I'm going to learn how this works. So just by being on it, and I learned through observation, mm-hmm. first to begin with, and then did a little research, and then I got the hang of it, and it just took off from there, and I was just consistent with it. And then I was also managing other people's Twitter pages too, in the arts.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped a lot as well, practice of it. So now, like I said, as a result, I have, all those followers.
Right.
But let me tell you, to be consistent, it takes a lot of work on a daily.
It takes a lot of work. A lot of work. I know.
I've learned how to manage it though,
right.
efficiently.
Especially if you're trying to deal with multiple social media accounts, you can't. There's no way.
Oh yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, I basically the only one. I mean, I have other social media accounts, but they don't get the attention that that Twitter does, because the thing is, I know that a lot of people say you have to, they want to have all these social media accounts. I am from the old school way of thinking of not being a jack of all trades,
mm-hmm.
being a master of one.
There you go.
I was going to master one.
There you go. I like that. Well, I think also your content has a lot to do with it too. It's something that resonates with everybody. The content on your page.
Thank you very much. I put a lot of effort into that. Most of the time that I spend on Twitter is not on Twitter itself. It is searching for content and creating content is mostly what I do.
Right. So for those people who don't follow you, let them know what your account is.
Oh, I'm on Twitter.
Meaning like what your content is.
Oh, what my content is?
Right.
Oh, my content is primarily about cinema. Okay, it's about film, and other aspects of the arts are my subtopics,
mm-hmm.
because I touch on film music, composers of film music, actors, and almost anything that's related artistically to film. Sometimes I'll even include stage. So, all the other subtopics are within the arts, but the primary topic is about film.
Right. And it's a beautiful thing because, sometimes when I'm looking at my timeline, something will come down and it just reminds me, oh man, I love that film, or oh, I love that, or I haven't seen that in so long. And it's something that resonates with everyone. And doesn't seem like there's a specific genre that you stick to. It's something that's just for everyone. And if you don't know what it is, the pieces or the clips that you choose to put up, people are curious about, and they might even go look and see what it is.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Actually, the content that I post has a lot to do with how my followers or my audience is reacting to it, and the comments that they make. So basically, I just go with that flow. There's that old Fats Waller song, find out what they like and how they like it, and let them have it just that way.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I don't try to dictate. I mean, a lot of stuff I put up there because I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So if other people like it, or they remind me or tell me about other things, then I put that in there too. But it's this give and take. I like, I appreciate my audience that I have.
And that shows. It really does, because you're very humble in the way you respond to people, and it seems like you almost hit back everyone. Someone will say something, you'll say something back to them.
For the most part, I unfortunately, I can't respond with all the content that I put on there
mm-hmm.
on a daily basis, and it's not just my content, but I also retweet, a lot of content. Actually, my retweets are more than my content. I like to keep, I try to aim for 80% of other people's content and only 20% of my content.
Wow.
That I post.
Right.
Because it just keeps your timeline more interesting.
Yes, right.
You have a variety of stuff, that's related to, the main topic or subtopics or whatever.
How do you go about choosing, the clips or videos that you put up, or the content that you put up, aside from retweeting, like the videos, for instance? What kind of craftsmanship goes into that? Because it looks like, it's not something I can just go pull off of, some site somewhere and just post it.
No, it's not that simple, because I like film so much, and there's so much film content out there.
Right.
But one of the things that I post a lot, I have this thing with movie trailers. I love trailers because they're like little stories.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Film. So I do a lot of that. Now on Twitter, you only get 20 minutes. Excuse me, 20 minutes, if only 2 minutes and 20 seconds of time. So a lot of times when I pull trailers, I have to edit those. So I do a lot of editing.
Right. That takes a lot of work. A lot.
Well, it's not so much work. For me, it's not work at all. It's a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
and I do it so often. You know that when I pull a trailer and I edit it, I know exactly where I'm going to cut it and put it together so that it's all clean and it doesn't look like it's been touched at all. Because especially trailers from 1970s, they were really, really long trailers. Some of those trailers are 2 and 3 minutes long.
Wow.
And it's like, I really got to cut this down.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, the reason why I have to cut it down, even if they're more modern trailers, is, like I said, on Twitter, you get 2 minutes and 20 seconds. The other thing that goes with that, on social media, attention span is very, very short.
Absolutely.
And it's getting shorter.
Absolutely is.
Because I've even had to go back and re-edit some of my content to shorten it
Right.
more. So, but for me, it's a lot of fun.
Right.
It is. And sometimes I don't try to be clever with, the text that I put in there, because oftentimes I'm just not clever. I have to work at being clever. It doesn't come naturally to me. But every now and then I get a spark, and it's like, okay, I'm going to put this in the tweet. But I don't like to try to be clever. I don't like to try to be funny. If something is spontaneous, that's and it happens to be funny, then I put it. But I don't work at that part. Basically, I have the original tagline from the trailer and just put the details on there and post it, and people seem to really like it. So,
You have a specific genre of movie that you like personally?
no, not at all. I am truly a film lover. What it is that I'm attracted to most is if it's a good story. To me, it doesn't make a difference what genre it is. If it is a good story, if it is a good script, if it's been shot well, I can appreciate it no matter what genre it is. However, having said that,
there's a but. I knew there was a but.
Yeah, there is, because when I was growing up as a kid, I've developed my my taste for certain directors. I'm a big fan of Alfred Hitchcock.
Yes. Sure.
Also, Brian De Palma.
Mm-hmm.
Marty Scorsese.
Of course.
I mean, they're great storytellers. They're great visual storytellers.
Right.
Storytellers. They're just masters of the craft. But for me, it comes down to the story. But if it's beautifully shot, I can really appreciate some great cinematography.
Do you feel like, are you working on any other projects now? Would you like to work on another project, or do you have something in mind?
I'm not working on a project at this very moment. However, I will be next year. And that just came about very recently. Within the last couple of days, I've been asked to come on to a project that's going to start shooting next year. It's an independent film project.
I like that. Good.
That I really can't talk about.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Because, I just got on board. There's a lot of pre-production work to do as well. A lot of, if you're not in film, people don't realize how much work is done before the film is even starting to shoot.
Yes, pre-production is a beep.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot to be done.
You miss traveling? Did you travel a lot with the film that you had for the film festivals or anything like that?
No, because basically those film festivals were local in Los Angeles, mostly in Hollywood. But speaking of traveling, that is another passion of mine. I love traveling. My goal is to set foot on the other 6 continents. I only have 3 more to go, which are Africa, South America, and Antarctica. And at the rate things are going with traveling, it doesn't look like I'm going to get there anytime too soon. So, God spare my life that long that we get to these places. I hope to get to those places eventually.
Right. Has this been a hard time for you during the COVID time?
It's been a mixed bag of things. The COVID did change my life. Actually, it's COVID that actually brought me to New York.
Wow.
I had a gig in LA that kind of ended because of COVID, and I didn't have anything else going on after that. So, to make a long story short, I ended up coming back to New York. And since I moved back to New York, it's like I've got more opportunity here than I did in LA. So,
well, that's good.
It's been the bitter with the sweet,
right?
So to speak.
Right.
Because, like I said, like we were saying before, when you in the arts, you're gonna have a lot of ups and downs, and I was just trying to ride through it. I knew I was gonna be okay though, because when I left Los Angeles, I was really, really extremely stressed, and I had to calm myself down. But interestingly enough, on the plane leaving Los Angeles, the plane is taxiing down the runway, revving up to take off, and all of a sudden, I had this sense of calm come over me. Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was
really.
It really was. It was almost kind of spiritual, because I really wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't. I was just, just getting on with my life. And all of a sudden, as the plane took off, I just had this rush of calm come over me, like everything is going to be just fine.
Wow.
And it is. And I have to say, that has probably been the smoothest coast-to-coast flight I have ever taken in my life.
Wow.
There wasn't a single bump or anything. It was
Jeez.
like, okay, this is a good indication that I've made the right decision.
Right. The universe made its way for you. That's great.
Right, exactly.
Because we know, film production was down, a lot of people out of work, Broadway down. I have a friend who moved to California. She moved to LA right at the beginning of this whole thing. She's an actress. So she's just been there. She doesn't know anyone there. She doesn't know anything.
Wow.
So it's been rough for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, we stick it out. We make our own content. We create things. This podcast came out of, this whole thing, just creating things.
Right.
So that's what we have to do.
You have to do. It's not what happens to you in life. It's what you do with
what you do with it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can sit back and cry and, complain and stuff like that. And I'm not one of those people.
Right. Figure out how to make it work. I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not either.
Sometimes it takes a while, and it's not easy, and it's stressful, and it's frustrating, and it's scary.
Right.
But you move through it,
Right. And like you said, consistency pays off. It really does. Yeah. Well, Skip, I want to thank you for coming on OneMicNite. This has been very enlightening, very inspiring, and it's good to talk to somebody else, another fellow filmmaker.
Yeah,
Tell everybody. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, thanks again. This has been great. I've only had maybe one other opportunity to do a podcast like this, and I really enjoy doing it.
Well, good. I definitely want to have you back, and we're going to talk about specific things there. We'll talk about some specific genres of films and things like that too, but I definitely want to have you back. Okay. Tell everybody how we can get in touch with you. How can we find you? Your Twitter handle or?
I'm easy to be found on Twitter. Again, my Twitter handle is @SkipBolden. That's Skip, SKIP, BOLD as in David, EN.
There you go. Everybody, make sure you follow Skip Bolden. His timeline is bananas. So definitely some great films on there. It'll take you down the road that you didn't even know was there. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of OneMicNite. You can find us on all social media at OneMicNite. This is OneMicNite, the podcast. You can also check out some of the live videos from the OneMicNite live series on our YouTube channel. OneMicNite is spelled ONEMICNITE. You can follow me at Marcos Luis. I'm Marcos Luis, everything, MARCOSLUIS. Find me on the .com and find all the links to my social media. Thank you for joining me. Please make sure you share this episode. Go to Apple Podcasts. We are now on Amazon Music as well. All the platforms. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Great. That was really great. I enjoyed that. Yeah, you made me feel very comfortable.
Good. I like that. Just regular conversation. I'm a regular guy. That's what I want. I just want people to come on and talk and, tell what you do. Because your story is inspiring. You inspire people with your timeline. Seriously, seeing those movies go down my timeline, it just takes me back so many places, so much joy. Sounds crazy, but it's true.
And you probably notice all the other stuff that I put in it because, I have things that are related to, the art itself.
Right. Yeah. Everything
about filmmaking, about screenwriting. You'll see some of those things in there occasionally too. And what the thing is that I did not realize that I was going to fall in love with documentary. As far as a filmmaker, for me personally, the kind of stories I want to make, I absolutely adore documentary film. As far as features and stuff like that, I don't mind working in another capacity, as far as the crew or the production or the producing of it, because I enjoy that as well. But as far as my own film that I shoot, that I edit, it's got to be documentary.
Interesting.
And I think also it's the whole process that came out of doing the video journalism, because I had to shoot, I had to edit, I had to do voiceover, I had to write the script. You do everything.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, but documentaries are great. I would love to do one myself, my own.
Yeah, it's a good experience for you. It pushes your creativity, and it really helps you develop or discover a skill set that you didn't even know was there.
Right.
Because that happened to me, with that. But I was just so exhilarated. Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
One place that I do want to go to, because when I was just talking, about the traveling, I do want to go to Cuba.
Yeah. Cuba is like one of the most beautiful, preserved places, in the world. You're like you're walking in a time machine.
I know, because it's stuck in time. One of my favorite documentaries that I haven't seen in a long time is the Buena Vista Social Club.
Yeah.
About the music.
Yes, of course.
Such a great story.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, but
those are my people. Yeah.
I gotta.
Once everything opens up, I say take a quick trip down there. That's almost like a weekend trip. You close your eyes, you watch a movie, and you're there on the plane. Pretty much, it's a really quick trip.
But I want to stay there longer for a weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, just if you're going to Havana, just go there for a weekend. But yeah, definitely go to, Trinidad and Camagüey and all those places. Take the train. It takes a long time to take the train. It's beautiful. It's just like you have nothing. It's just time. You just look and you watch and you enjoy the people. It's safe. don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. See now, just by you saying that, it's like I'm envisioning, oh man, I really gotta go because now it sounds too good. No, but it's always been one of those places that has always fascinated me, and probably part of that fascination is because we could never go there.
Right.
Before.
Exactly.
Because we always want to do what we can.
Yeah.
But just culturally, growing up in New York, there were, lots of Puerto Ricans, lots of Cubans, here. So, and I'm fascinated with the whole culture of that part of the world. Excuse me. Part of my family line is from Trinidad in the West Indies. So, that whole Caribbean thing is, it's basically in my blood.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is.
And it's just all the, between, the Spanish and the French and all those influences, throughout all those islands and how different they are, but also how similar they are.
Similar they are. Exactly.
I love seeing the similarities.
Right. The thing that struck me the most, the time that I was there was, well, first of all, being able to speak Spanish and ask people how life is, what is it really like? And the sort of complacency with the thought that they were never going to get out. They could never go anywhere. They could never really achieve anything. Trying to get a visa cost them more than like a year or two pay.
Oh my God.
You would line up for the supermarket to get your rice and beans. The sign would say 1 o'clock. They wouldn't open till 3, maybe 4. Everybody, the line's there. As soon as the door opens, it's just whatever's available. And once it's gone, it's gone. You may get something, you may not get something.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it's heartbreaking.
Okay. Having said that, okay, my friend.
All right, we'll talk later. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
You too.
All right.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.